What, you like the legend? Huh? You like that?
It makes me blush a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
just a little.
You know, it's definitely something that I embrace now. A lot more now so than I did back in the day.
Yeah. Welcome back to Portland up here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Like most of you know, I've talked to a lot of you guys today, but I mean, I love Portland. It's kind of my second home, and I spend a lot of time up in Portland and Maine during the summer. So I thank you guys for being you and accepting people like me.
Like the tie, yeah.
Yeah, it's, Maine reminds me a lot of Texas. Beautiful country and good people. So, I mean, why not?
How's the off season going? I know you're living in Boston, so you're close here to Maine, but you're close to Fenway, and I know you're chomping at the bit to get back at it.
Am I?
Coaching,
Really?
No?
Yes, I am living in Boston.
Yeah.
No, but, the winter in the city is, like some of us talked about. The winter in the city is different, but I enjoy the cold weather. The city wears on me a little bit, gets on my nerves, but, I am excited about head off to winter weekend this weekend, fantasy camp, and then spring training soon to follow. So it's time to go.
Yeah. We will see you there. We're going to bring Slugger to winter weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's going to be
Where's that guy at? He kept photobombing all our photos earlier, so I got a bone to pick, but...
So, again, I know we've had so many members of the 2004 team up here for this dinner. So, again, I know so many want to thank you for that World Series because it means a lot.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm honored to be here. As I was pointed out earlier, it's not a fireplace, it's a hot stove. But I am honored to be here. I was very proud to be part of that team. I'm very proud to be part of the Red Sox organization now. But one thing is you adopt is you become a player to a former player. In a place like this where we were very fortunate enough to accomplish something that we did is you adopt the responsibilities. Being able to come up here and meet you guys and give back and help raise money for the cancer hospital and all that stuff. It's responsibility for us that I'm proud to accept, and it's great to give back where I can.
I think the Red Sox have done a great job, as so many former players have been role models to the organization.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I played for, I guess, 4 organizations. No other organization takes care of the former players like the Red Sox. It starts with the ladies that take care of the former players and the people in player development, and then through the farm system with the Burks and how the organization treats its players, treats them like men, gives them everything they need to succeed. And, I think that's why it started to change over the last, 15, 18 years since John Henry took over.
Yeah, I think they've been outstanding. The things they've done to the ballpark, too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a first-class organization, and anything you need, they will go to basically any limit to get it for you.
Okay, I think I know what we need. You have the ball, right, from the last out? That's what I heard? Is that true? No? I just made that up. I was hoping.
Or did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like I tell everybody, wait till the book comes out.
Yes.
You'll hear the real story about that ball.
So you have to tell that. People must ask you all the time that being involved in that last play, I mean, that's cool that you were the guy, Mankiewicz, part of that last play and ended that curse.
I mean, like I said, at the time it was a great deal to me, but as I get older and as I get away from being a player, it means so much to me. I mean, didn't realize it at the time, but the impact that it had on the Red Sox and New England and the world, really, yeah. Like I said, it's an honor being chosen to be that person, and I accept it and I enjoy it every day.
Tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now with the Red Sox. I mean, so many people in here see you all the time in the bullpen, but your official role and what you do throughout the minor league season.
Yeah, so after a long hiatus, sitting on the couch getting fat every day, the Red Sox invited me back to be part of the player development side, and so now I work with the bullpen guys in the upper levels of the organization, and again, I take great pride in being able to help prepare these young men to the challenge that they're going to have once they get to Boston. Boston's not an easy place to play, but if you go out there, you accept the community, you play hard, you do your job, you deal with the good, but then you also have to deal with the bad. So it's one of those things where, we talk about anything from baseball to marriages to kids to dating life to, after the game. We talk about all kinds of things, but I do my best to try and help these guys be prepared when they get to Boston to win and be good men.
How did you get the interest in coaching again?
I think from being a father. You know, I have 3 boys of my own, and if you would ask me 15 years ago, hey, you're going to be a coach in, 2017, I'm like, I'd have laughed at you. There's no chance in the world I ever wanted to be a coach until my children started to get older, and I started to not regret the game of baseball so much that I'm like, you know what, I have an idea. The bullpen people, the bullpen players, pitchers, are the only guys who didn't really have a coordinator. So I started shooting out this idea to anybody that listened. I mean, anybody. And finally, when Dave came over to the Red Sox, he kind of had the same idea. So, they called me in, we worked it out, and, here we are today.
That's great. Because Mike McCarthy, former Sea Dogs pitcher, he's the bullpen coach in AAA. So,
yeah, so, I mean, it's one of those things. Yeah, I've seen Mike around, and I just heard that Eric Gagne is doing that with Texas. So, again, the Red Sox are probably leading, the trail and, making sure that every one of their players has a mentor or somebody to help lead them. Because being in the big leagues in the bullpen is not easy, especially if you're a young man coming from, like playing here in Portland is beautiful, but when you get to Boston, I mean, it's a whole nother animal. You're playing in Boston or you're playing in New York in front of 40, 50,000 people. If, New York, if they decide to start getting on you, it can be intimidating, So we challenge our players as young men. So when they get to that level and it comes September, October, they're ready to prepare. They're prepared and they're ready to play.
Yeah, you say different animal. There are a lot of animals in the bleachers out in Fenway. So
yeah.
I remember sitting
it's
out
nothing
there,
like playing in old Philadelphia or anything like that, but that place scared me to death.
What do pitchers you think have to do the most when they get to this level from high A?
They have to adapt, and as being a minor league baseball player is a great accomplishment. Not many players get to play in the minor league baseball and, and from college and all that. But once you get to the professional baseball, the people you're playing against, they were also the best team or the best player on their little league team. They were also the best team on their high school team, the college, and all of a sudden the funnel, it's like a triangle. It's hard to do this, but as you get towards the top, they get smaller and smaller. The competition gets greater and greater. So you have to be able to prepare these guys for the challenge ahead. They can't be fooled thinking it's going to be easy, because it's by far not easy.
Yeah. And this level really can be the separator, as we've heard and seen a lot.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen over the last couple of years, several players over the last couple of years have gone from A-ball to the big leagues. But, even here with Andrew and Devers, we've taken guys straight from AA, from Portland, straight to the big leagues to make impact.
I know there's some really neat analytics now in the game, and that the one thing in the pitching end is spin rate. So could you kind of tell us what that is? Or are you not the analytics guy?
We have a big analytical meeting on Thursday that I'm not really qualified for. But it's the new generation. It's how organizations are having to adapt. You're using technology to further your advancement in the game. And in these days, it's almost like racing. If you can get one little edge on your competitor, it's going to give you an edge. And over a course of a season, 2 seasons, 5 seasons, if you can get that edge, it's going to help you win.
I wanted to go back on something. You said that you like the cold. You might be the only one in here, right?
I'm sure I'm not the only one in here, but
so.
in my fluffier state, I grew up in Southeast Texas, so I grew up in the heat and humidity of Texas. I lived in Arizona for 20 years, and after I retired, I played all summer, obviously, and after I retired, spending a couple summers in Phoenix, Arizona. I don't know if anybody's ever been out there. It's a dry heat. It's hot. I don't care who you are. It's hot. And as I get older, it's like I've sweated my entire life. It's nice to be able to go do something and not sweat. I enjoy putting on a jacket. I now own 2 vests. So,
You're like the happiest guy at LL Bean. They're just beaming.
Yeah. I mean, I go to LL Bean, at night just to hang out since they're open 24 hours. When I have nothing to do, I go up and buy me another flannel.
Yeah. When did you get some offers to be able to be a professional? Do you remember the first few scouts that talked to you?
For being a baseball player?
Baseball player, yeah.
Not really. I went to a very small school. I went to Galveston Junior College to play baseball, which was the first year of that program. They started a baseball program. And then my third year, I went to Lewis Clark up in Idaho, which is also, it's a small school, but it's kind of a baseball factory. But growing up, I wanted to be a football player. I wanted to be a linebacker or a safety. I just want to go out and bust somebody up. And grades didn't work with that, so we played baseball. But I didn't really concern myself with the scouts. Maybe I was naive, maybe I was stupid, whatever it was, but I just went out to play the game truly because I loved to pitch. Well, back in the day, I loved to hit and pitch, but came to a point where I had to pick one. And I'm like, you know what, I think I have a shot at pitching, but I never looked too far ahead, so I never worried about scouts or the radar gun or anything. I just worried about going out there and competing, and that's what I love to do.
Where did the changeup that all start?
The changeup, so I was drafted by the San Francisco Giants in the 94 draft. So at the time I was throwing 86, 87, had a bad split finger, and that was back with Roger Craig, right as they were transferring from Roger Craig to the new era, where they had a lot of elbow injuries and all that stuff. They're like, okay, no more split finger, no more forkball. And I'm like, okay. I'm throwing 86 in professional baseball, and I have no off-speed pitch. I called Dad, and I was like, Dad, it's not looking good. Make sure Mom washes the sheets. I'll probably be home soon, okay? But what it was, Keith Comstock was my first professional coach in Everett, Washington. He just happened to be a crafty left-hander, and he showed me how he threw basically his screwball. And so that was in the summer of 94. So I started working on it there. And every chance I got, I was throwing changeup from the outfield while I'm shagging. We're doing all this. And I ended up having, 97 I got to the big leagues. 98 I had shoulder surgery, removed a little bone spur. Came back in 99, strong as a bull. And all of a sudden my legs were there, my shoulder was there. And I came out, had great hand speed. And the changeup just kind of appeared on the table. And never really looked back.
That's a great story that you kind of learned it from a left-hander perspective.
Yeah, because I had to do it. It was one of those things where I was always behind the eight ball, and I always had to work to get up. And I think that was one of the attributes that helped me get and pitch at a high level in this game.
Yeah, I remember this in 1997. That they call it the white flag trade that you were involved, because the White Sox were close, and then they ended up making that big trade. So what was that like going through getting traded early?
It was interesting. I remember being, like I said, I was up in the Northwest and getting a call that I was going to be traded. And at the time, I thought I was being punished. I was like, these guys don't want me anymore. You're like the step kid that's being pushed aside. But he's like, no, this is a good thing. It's going to get you a clear window to the big leagues. Because I'd been up and down with the big leagues, and I was overwhelmed at the time. The personnel more than the pace of play. But I had some guys in that Giants team that didn't make being a rookie fun. So we won't talk about them at this meeting. But I mean, back in the day, I was a starter. So I got to the White Sox, and they're like, okay, we have all our young starters are coming up, so we're going to put you in the bullpen. So I went to the bullpen. Next year went by. When I came back in 99, when I was strong finally, I was like, hey, I want to go back to start. And they're like, no. You screwed up, son. You pitched well out of the bullpen. You're never going back to starting. So that's why I never left the bullpen.
But it worked out. I mean, that's a great
story.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously it's 11 plus years later, it's a pretty nice baseball card.
So the power of the internet. One of those players you were traded with, you ended up playing with in Indie Ball, right? Did you know that? Mike Caruso?
Oh.
You played with him in Indie Ball in 09. You guys were in that trade.
Well, I remember Mike Caruso. He came up and he was our shortstop with the White Sox. I don't remember playing with him after that.
Yeah, well, it's in the Baseball Reference, so it's got to be, the Newark Bears.
It was on the internet, so it must be true, right?
Yes. I'll show you a little bit later, yeah. Yep. We could do it right now.
We'll talk about this later.
Yeah.
We'll be in the bar after this. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. And then you get traded to Oakland, and then you got a first-hand view of the Red Sox in 03, which was, some say, maybe a better team than 04. And then it's just kind of weird how your career worked out. Went from that great team in Oakland, and then we know what happened after that.
Yeah, so I got traded in 02 to go to Oakland, where San Francisco or Chicago wanted. They wanted a different kind of closer. They wanted somebody that threw hard. They wanted to be the typical closer, and obviously I wasn't their guy, so they shipped me off to Oakland and went out there and had really probably the best year of my career. And definitely had a front row seat for the Red Sox that year. And I remember after we got knocked out, going home, talking to my agent, watching the Red Sox Yankees on TV, and my agent told me, he goes, "Hey, don't be afraid if the Red Sox are one of the big contenders for you next year." So I paid attention the rest of that season, that series with the Yankees, and sure enough, we started talking as soon as that thing was over.
What was it like pitching to those guys in Boston? The guys in 03 when you had to pitch to them, Manny, Ortiz, and Damon. You must have been relieved when you didn't have to face them anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things is I developed as a professional is I didn't really pay attention to the guy in the box. I had my distinct style of pitching, and it didn't really matter who was in the box. I didn't vary very far from my routine. I was going to throw you up and in and down away, and I was going to try and elevate to put you away or throw a changeup down, and so I don't pay attention to who's in the box very much.
It's trust in your stuff.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you get caught up, and of course that was really before David Ortiz was Big Papi, but obviously facing Manny and who else was on that team? Edgar or shortstop.
Renteria, yeah. Cabrera?
Nomar,
yeah.
Oh, a good thing.
Yeah.
But obviously, they have some high-quality hitters, but, you start thinking about who's in the box, and sometimes you stop thinking about what you need to do to get them out. They're still human. They're still going to make mistakes.
Yeah. All right, you must have some great stories from the 04 team. We know that you probably can't tell us all of them, but you must have some good stories.
Of course, we got a fair share, but that was a team that, obviously we hung out a lot together, but, we never really seemed to develop a whole lot of stories. We kind of just played it straight and level. But, obviously the best memories I have are when the playoffs, and unfortunately when we were down, Kevin Millar, when, everybody hears about how we were taking shots and stuff before the game, and they're like, "No way that's true." And I was like, "Yeah, it was." But, it was one of those things where it was camaraderie. It was everybody going. We were in a hole, obviously, but it was guys joining together in one little symbolic moment to say, "Hey, I'm with you. Let's do this." And like I said, if we were in fights, we were in a fight together. But being down in that deficit, we were definitely a team, and we fought together and we won as a team.
It seems to sometimes get lost in that World Series. I mean, you guys had one of the most historic comebacks ever against the Yankees, and you did it there. I mean, that's the better part of that whole World Series.
Oh, obviously, you never want to start off any movie like that, but, no movie goes without drama, and fortunately, we wrote our own drama, but fortunately, we were dedicated and talented enough to overcome it. It's hard to believe. Every time I see that Dave Roberts steal, we're only 4 or 5 inches. Now, I get nervous. Oh, he's safe. Thank you. It's like I still get nervous watching that play. And it's obviously we did it, and we had a lot of breaks go our way, and we played hard, and obviously the baseball gods looked upon us fondly, and we were able to pull it off.
And it was nice that in that series you had the right combination of starters with Pedro and Schilling. Later in that series to have them pitch when you're down. That was huge.
Yeah, again, it's never without drama. Obviously having Pedro and Schilling, great pitchers, no matter what the details are. But, you get Pedro got beat up early in the year with, who's your daddy and all that nonsense. And then Schilling getting the surgery done right before the game. It's like, it's drama. We're making a great movie here. But, the heart, you get guys like Derek Lowe come out there, and, he won every game of the series, the clinching games. But, it was truly, every guy on that roster, the coaching staff, the trainers, everybody had the same goal. And we never really, even though we were down 3 games, we never wavered. Everybody was still going in the same direction.
Yeah. What was it like playing for Terry Francona?
I love Tito. Tito was the type of manager that, being on that Red Sox team, we had a very veteran group. I think I was 31 when I got to that team. I was one of the youngest players on that team. So we had a very veteran group. We had guys that had won World Series. So he let you be your own guy, but if needed, he had no problem jerking you back in, kind of reeling you back in. So he gave you just enough slack for you to enjoy yourself, but never to get in trouble.
You able to see him still when they come around, Cleveland? You've been there to see him now?
No. I don't. I hang out with my minor league guys. I don't. When I go to Boston, I go and I watch in the stands, and I don't mess with the big league guys.
You're a fan now of all the Boston sports, right?
Most of them, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely obviously a Red Sox fan, but I'm a big Patriot Bruin guy. So, I live right there in North Station, so I'm a big Bruin guy. So, always around the Garden.
Tell us about just watching Manny Ramirez hit those guys, Manny and Big Papi.
Yeah, I was very fortunate enough as a player to be around some of the greatest hitters in baseball. Started, even though I don't like the guy, Barry Bonds. So I was with Barry Bonds, and I went to Chicago, so I was around Frank Thomas, Robin Ventura, Albert Bell. And really with those times with Chicago is where I started talking to those hitters, and I started to ask them, what don't you like? As a pitcher, how would you get you out? And so I started taking that input, all right? So by the time I got to Boston, and watching David hit, watching Manny hit, watching those guys go through their approach during batting practice, it's one of those things that helped me work on my style of pitching. But watching those guys with the bat really is phenomenal. What they do on a daily basis that's why they get paid so much money. That's why they're some of the best athletes in the world, is because hitting that ball with the bat, is still the hardest thing to do in any sport.
And I'm sure you saw this a lot, the work that you have to put in to be so great at
hours and hours every day.
Yeah.
Every day. As I'm sitting getting massage, those guys are constantly going to the tunnel, hitting off the tee. The hitting coaches and the staff, the hours that they put in with the players is probably even more impressive. Because the staff goes for, the players don't get there till 2, 1:32, whatever. The staff has been there from 10, looking at all the analytical data, the video of the pitchers coming up. The staff puts in tremendous hours to help, our teams win.
Yeah, that's a great point. The routine at every level, how early guys get to the field. I don't think the average fan realizes that.
Yeah, I mean, guys put in way more effort now. They put in way more work. There's so much more information out there for them that these guys live at the ballpark nonstop. They're constantly looking at computers, iPads, data. They have all kinds of interactive computer programs to help them work on, just tracking the ball and stuff. And, as pitchers, we have all the information we could ever need on how to get a guy out.
How special is Fenway Park?
It's the most special place I've ever been in baseball. My first trip was 1997. I remember coming in. I grew up watching it on, the Saturday game of the week. Every once in a while you'd see Fenway Park, and I'm like, wow. I grew up watching games in the Astrodome, so I only knew indoor baseball. I only knew AstroTurf. And all of a sudden you see this goofy-looking field with the big wall and all this stuff. And but over the years, the fans and the ballpark and the atmosphere and the city and the region, I've fallen in love. I mean, I'm all in.
And lastly, what was your favorite visiting city to go to?
Well, as a visiting player, Boston was always one of my favorite cities. Being able to come in, and obviously times have changed a little bit now, but there's a lot of colleges in Boston. You go to Daisy Buchanan's, there's a lot of nightlife. It's but beside that, it was going to the ballpark every day where there's it wasn't always a sellout. There's always a playoff atmosphere. And I thrived on going sitting in the bullpen and having some guy yell over the fence, "Hey, you suck." Yeah. Love you, buddy. And we'd get into all kinds of banter, and more times than not, we ended up hanging out after the game. Because they knew that they could dish out anything they wanted to say to me. I don't care what you think of my mother. I'm fine. I'm here. You paid your money. I'm here. You see how this works? But I enjoyed interacting with the fans and stuff, and I embrace that.
I'm sure they had some very colorful ways of saying your name, with that accent, right?
Yeah, I still have a sweatshirt from a kid I conned off him one day in a cold day in Fenway, where I traded him for a ball and I got him kicked out. Yeah. I got the ball and the sweatshirt.
This will be a question from the fans, I think, to you. Everyone always wants to know what that rivalry between the Red Sox, Yankees, when you're on the field, what's that like? I mean, fans can embrace it a bit on TV. If you're at a game, it's crazy, but being on the field for that, especially the playoffs, has to be just crazy.
Yeah, it really is. Especially going into Yankee Stadium, where when they old Yankee Stadium, they'd fill that place up. I mean, it's 50,000 people, and you'd be out there, and they're doing their chants before the game, introducing all their players, and they're hollering at you constantly, and it's one of those things where if you embrace it, it gets you ready for that rivalry. You enjoy it. I enjoy going to the park. Nothing made me happier than shutting them up, doing my job, shaking hands on their field, and then taking it to the house.
Well, I think that's a perfect way to end. That's a perfect, yeah.
Well, thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming out and supporting the hospital and stuff, and thank you for having me, and, let's do it again.
That's great.